Alright, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Bjorn, and we're going to continue on down the paths of my Templar homebrew class for Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Today, we're going to be looking at the path of the Crusader. This one is very much more akin to a fighter, barbarian, paladin-esque type build. It's a builder and spender archetype. You're going to be expending uses of your sacrificial right to go ahead and build up stacks of zeal, and then you'll be able to expend them to deal extra damage and to a possibility of recovering those on a critical hit. Simple, rundown of the class, but let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright, so Crusaders focus themselves more on immediate threats, be it either to their order or to the people that they've been designated to protect or have chosen themselves to undertake. These individuals may take up the roles of that of a commander, should they be called to war. Their bravery can inspire even the most lawful stupid of paladins. It's a pretty big statement right there, but I believe in it. So some of their features here, as we can see, we gain Heart of the Crusade at 2nd level, and we choose this archetype. We gain both the Word of Radiance and the Light cantrips. Word of Radiance, selectively useful if you're in a big enough AoE situation. I could see it being devastating. And Light, of course, Light is beneficial. In addition, you gain proficiency in heavy armor and all martial weapons. Finally, you gain proficiency in the athletic skill if you don't already have it, and your proficiency bonus is doubled for this proficiency. So instead of the Apostle, where they gain 2 proficiencies, the skill proficiencies, I decided to give them heavy armor and martial weapons here, and then just 1 skill proficiency. It felt more balanced, or more something that the would matter towards the Crusader. There are more athletic individuals. They gain heavy armor and martial weapons, so I feel like that makes up for not having the additional skill proficiency for sure. Alright, and moving forward, at 6th level we gain an ability called Zealous Strike. So you are now able to channel the might of the Crusade behind your strikes. For each use of your sacrificial right that you expend, you will gain 1 stack of zeal, which are represented by d6s as force damage that will stack up to 15 times and do not fade, instead release when you see fit. So very akin to a Divine Smite immediately, but in this case we have to spend up our sacrificial right ability in order to begin to gain these stacks. Again, I wanted this to be separate from the Paladin and separate from how they can just use a spell slot and their god allows them to smite their fucking target. In this case, we have to sacrifice something in order to build up those stacks, and then we can expend them. Recently I did change it from a D4 to a D6. I felt like a D4 just really was kind of underwhelming, especially for the fact that we're giving up our hit dice, and that's pretty important. Force damage, because I didn't want it to be radiant. I wanted it to be instead something a little bit more unique. Again, I wanted it to be separate from the Paladin, so I decided force damage could make sense. They're channeling some sort of other magic. There's any number of lore reasons or in-game reasons to come up with why it's force damage, but I've just felt force damage would be more appropriate than radiant. And I limited this one off at 15 stacks. That's because 15 times 6 is a lot. That's 90. That's 90 damage, and that's a lot. These stacks don't fade. That's crazy. I'm considering even staggering the amount of stacks that you can hold up until a certain level, at level whatever. You go ahead and or you know what, here, this will fix it real easy. Alright, so now I've changed it so that they can stack up to 15 stacks, but they fade at the end of combat. So this is a purely in combat thing. You don't get to hold these. I feel a bit better about that, because I didn't like the idea of somebody, for a solid week they'll go out and smack something around, a fucking goblin, and they'll build up these stacks, and then they'll have a possible 90 damage output stack. So I like the idea that this is relegated purely to combat, so we'll stick with that. And then should this ability be used on a critical hit, it will restore half of your used zeal dice, rounded up as hit dice. You cannot go over your total with this. So the amount of zeal dice that you crank into a critical hit is probably going to be all of them, depending on, if you want to save them for a bigger enemy or whatever. There could be a number of reasons for you not to want to, but I'm not going to go over those. You restore up to half of those used, rounded up as hit dice. So this is just, it feeds into itself, and you're able to get back into healing, and you're able to get back into dealing more damage. Should you use hit dice outside of combat during a short rest to heal, those spent hit dice do not grant stacks of zeal. This is again me not wanting people to cheese it so horribly that it becomes broken. And alright, and now coming down onto 10th level, when you start combat, and not surprised, you will start with a number of zeal stacks equal to your wisdom modifier. In addition, you gain advantage on initiative rolls and whichever saving throws you are proficient in. This is why I mentioned that I think that this class is more a wisdom base, even though for this case having strength would be very useful. I think strength is a number 2. But the more wisdom that you have going into combat, so assuming you have a 20 wisdom, you have 5 stacks of zeal immediately. So if you happen to have no more hit dice, you have 5 stacks, where if you expend them on a critical hit, you're going to go ahead and get back at least 3 stacks of your sacrificial rites. Yeah, this is just to aid people, give them a nice rush at the beginning of combat, dish out some crazy amount of damage, because that will go up here in the next feature that we gain. So, Divine Strength, starting at 14th level, through prayer, meditation, or some trial of faith, our deity has witnessed our deeds and is impressed and has granted us a renewed strength that you knew not of before. Blah, 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 blah. Your constitution and wisdom scores increased by 4. Your maximum for these scores is now 24. So I decided to go ahead and give them the Barbarian level 20 ability, changed it up a little bit because it feels appropriate. Higher constitution for this class. Again, I want this class to be a bit tankier, and with the increase to wisdom, that's going to help them with their zeal stacks and their indomitable zeal. It kind of just helps the whole class survive. And also, I felt like the small tangent here, the Barbarian level 20 feature is kind of trash. There's other ways to get your strength up, and there's other ways to get your con up. You know, you can get a belt of, eventually at level 20, of Storm Giant strength. You know, there's other ways. And, you know, the level 20 feature is just kind of dull. But hey, we'll move past that. But yeah, so this class is pretty simple. It's not as simple as the Apostle, obviously. We just focus on building up stacks, and then we expend those stacks when we feel it's appropriate. So yeah, it's a builder, it's a spender. You heal a lot, especially once you get up to Bulwark of the Faithful. Again, I'll mention that one every time. Like, that's 7d8 self-healing plus con modifier on each roll. This class is very self-sufficient once you get up to level 20s. Like, consider that. That's some insane self-healing. Like, yeah, the 5d8 was crazy, but 7d8 is even higher, and this class focuses on heavy constitution, heavy wisdom, and medium strength. Certainly hope that this class has spiked some interest in people and make them want to go ahead and play it. I know I want to play it, but yeah. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. All that kind of stuff really helps and encourages me to make more of these kind of things, because this shit took me like weeks to make, but whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.